And of course, it's 30 years of joyfulness. Hashtag Stop Galamsey Now. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi and on over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up tonight, illegal mining activities wreak havoc on Ghana's rail infrastructure with about 3 kilometers of the critical Nsuta Takoradi Akyem rail line destroyed. Halting Manganese, Haulage and other operations. The Ghana Railway Company estimates the damage to be around $18 million in a fresh blow to the nation's economy.
54 kilometers from Takoradi and 6 kilometers from Nsuta. If we're looking at a Suez Bridge all the way to Nsuta are all critical areas under siege.
We'll bring you details plus environmental protection's controversy over its bold plan to restore the country's polluted rivers using a copper-based nano liquid technology.
Also tonight, it's official. Chairman Wontumi to be slapped with 3 charges related to illegal mining offences after grueling 4-hour meeting at CID Headquarters. We have details as lawyers for the embattled MPP Ashanti Regional Chair prepare to mount a defence.
Well, the charges are in mining areas, mining without license and all that, but we'll discuss that tomorrow in court.
We have the very latest for you. Plus, Takoradi, former Attorney General, also interrogated by the CID officials over Richard Jakpe's petition against him, accusing him of witness tampering.
The operation recover all rules. I have to commend the government for it and to tell the government to pay the cost and to recover all that has been looted from the state government.
You want to stay with us for that and more. And what you had there is hearing on the Operation Recover All Loot. Government charged to stay the course to recover all the loot. More as the Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State, Togbe Afeather, the 14th, expresses concern about the negative impact of corruption on national development.
Everything that we can do to everybody in our system or to minimize it will all be steps in the right direction. Will all be in trying to create the right environment for our development.
In business tonight.
Chamber of Petroleum Consumers fear transport operators could soon push for hikes in fares due to rising fuel prices.
And in sports,
government is contemplating the inclusion of a sports levy in the bill for the Sports Development Fund set to be laid before Parliament.
You want to join us with your views and comments all here on Newsnight. 055-11-11997 is the WhatsApp line. Details after this. You're live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Tonight, after months of interrogations and claims of missing dockets, it's official. MPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman Antwi Boasiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, is set to face 3 charges related to illegal mining offences tomorrow at the High Court. Chairman Wontumi was earlier this year detained for a week by EOCO after previous similar investigations by the police CID.
Well, last Friday, the Attorney General hinted criminal charges were coming when he warned Chairman Wontumi to show up at the CID today or face another arrest. Chairman Wontumi, indeed, showed up today with a team of lawyers. My colleague Kweku Asante was at the police headquarters and joins me in the studio with details. Kweku, what have we picked up regarding the hours of interrogation?
So Chairman Wontumi and his lawyers, particularly led by Andy Apiakubi, arrived just a little after 9 a.m. and they went into the CID head office right away. The interrogation lasted almost 4 hours. At the time Chairman Wontumi came out together with the lawyers, they said that they were ready to contest the charges in court. Although the CID themselves have not given us the specifics of the charges that we are looking at, Andy Apiakubi talks a little bit about what exactly may be coming. He says his client is being charged with 3 offences specifically related to illegal mining, and tomorrow, Tuesday, those charges will be formally preferred at the High Court in Accra, and then they expect to mount such a spirited defence on this matter.
Well, you spoke to the lawyers, and like you just mentioned, they said they are prepared to defend him to the full extent of the law. Right?
Yes. According to Andy Apiakubi, they are not even going to release their entire legal strategy at this point. But as soon as the charges are preferred, they get a bill for their client, and then the matters proceed one of the things they are even looking at is perhaps to file a motion of no case in court. And so they have a whole arsenal that they are going to deploy once the charges are preferred tomorrow.
But we will go to court tomorrow. Okay. We're going to get ready to go to court. We say thank you to all of you who have been here with us. And let us also congratulate the police system for being so professional in the discharge of their responsibility. We also take this opportunity to congratulate the Attorney General who has facilitated all of this. And we will see you in court tomorrow.
Has there been fair cooperation so far? And what are the charges?
Well, the charges are in mining areas, mining without license and all that, but we will discuss that tomorrow in court. But let me commend all of you. And Chairman has been, as you have seen, being very composed and expecting that tomorrow we go to court and all of us will help the court in taking a decision that is judicious.
So I imagine you are maintaining your innocence.
We are not supposed to prove innocence. Our job is to allow prosecution to finish, and then we will come in with our response. Could be submission of no case.
Okay, let's stay with the CID headquarters because we know, Kweku, that Godfrey Ibadame, the former Attorney General, was also there today. He has been interrogated for hours also of allegations of fabrication of evidence. But before that, let's stay a little longer on illegal mining because Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine says new petitions have now come before the Economic and Organized Crimes Office and complicated investigations into two senior NDC executives accused of engaging in illegal mining. Dr. Ayine, who is in July, if you may recall, directed EOCO to investigate NDC Vice Chairman Abanga Yakubu Hassan and National Organizer Joseph Yamin for the alleged involvement in illegal mining, says the matter has now expanded beyond its initial scope. He gave further details during President John Mahama's meeting with civil society organizations last Friday.
When we did the referral, it was upon intelligence that we got that was sent to both myself and the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. But after we did, some petitions came from small-scale miners to the Economic and Organized Crime Office, then complicating the investigations. And so, as we speak, an investigative report is yet to be made to my office because those small-scale miners also brought their petitions that had allegations against the two persons who were referred. And so, at this point in time, I cannot definitively speak to what is contained in the investigative report because it is yet to be presented to my office by the EOCO. But we are definitely taking action on those matters.
Well, the Attorney General was answering a question posed by Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, who is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. Joins us on the line right now. Mr. Ashigbe, thanks for your time here on the News Night. You posed that question. You got an answer. Were you satisfied with the response you got?
Well, thank you very much, Evans. And, well, the format of the engagement itself did not allow for extensive engagement. But on that particular score, that was the first time we were getting any response from the Attorney General or the EOCO boss. So, well, he's giving us that response. There was no definitive on when we are going to expect some further responses. But in the same referral that the Attorney General did, he also referred the Professor Frimpong Boateng report to the EOCO boss. And they would have been, if I had an opportunity, that was also going to be the follow-up that I was going to do. But in my question, I also asked about some petitions that we as the Media Coalition had sent to His Excellency the President. It was about the NDC MP for our win, whose traditional leaders had accused him and he had counter-accused them. That also, we are really not getting any responses from them. And it's important that the elephant in the room is the politically exposed persons who are involved in this. So we urge His Excellency the President that to be able to deal effectively with it, these people who he had called last year as the kingpins are the ones that we need to be dealing with. So we will be hoping that we'll be getting updates on all of those politically exposed persons who have been implicated, both in the past government and then the current government.
Overall, though, today we've all been assessing how that encounter went. The minorities issued a statement. They believe it was a PR gimmick. Other civil society organizations have shared various views on it. Where you stand from the media coalition? Was this a useful encounter?
Well, I think it's a good beginning, because for us, we had written to the president, and he had referred our letter to the minister, and we had engaged the minister. We know that the minister had gone back to the president. The format of the engagement itself was a bit of a challenge. So you were not able to do a lot of detailing. But for updating the country on what was going on, I think it was a good initiative. And then the president was also able to say some of the things he's doing. But if you look at the coalition, one of the things I asked was detailed definition of what success was, what the milestones to be able to get to that success point was, and then definite timelines. And we were also asking about what the president would want to see before he would declare a state of emergency. Unfortunately, those definitive answers we did not get, but we submitted a write-up. I'm sure you noticed I mentioned that.
Yes.
And so it's early days yet. We are hoping that we would get some responses so far as the points that we made. Another critical point we made was the issue of the involvement in chiefs. We made the point that in areas where we have chiefs standing up against Galamsey, so you have areas like the Mampong area, for example, you have Jeba where the chief also is pushing. There's a community around that Chim area where they have a queen mother. They have a water body called Subone. The chief is able to stand. So we believe that in other areas where Galamsey is happening, it's either the chiefs themselves are not worthy of being our traditional leaders, or they themselves are complicit. Because there's no way even where you can go into any community now and take a cutlass or want to go into any land to say you are going to farm. How much more go into any of these areas and say you are going to mine illegally? And the chief would not know about that. So it is either these chiefs are complicit or incompetent. And we believe that the time has come. And that's what a state of emergency would have done for you. That it will give the president the power to confiscate all of these lands that have been subjected to abuse and this illegal mining. Take it away from the chiefs and then investigate the chiefs to see whether they are complicit. And celebrate also the chiefs that are really pushing and making sure that the Galamsey is not happening. And related to that is some communities where you have community activists pushing against these illegal miners. Atonso is one of them. And people have rather taken these community people and they are going to court. So one of our pleas was to ask the Attorney General to file an only prosecutor against this one and support communities who are standing up against this illegality.
Doc, thank you very much. And that there is Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe. He is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, also the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines.
And Evans, let's go back to our earlier story, and then after months of investigations and claims of course, missing dockets, and NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman, that's Bernard Antwi Boasiako, is set to face 3 charges related to illegal mining offences tomorrow at the High Court. We have on the lines EOCO Afuakwa, his lawyer for Chairman Wontumi. Good evening, thank you for your time on Newsnight.
Yeah, good evening.
And
I must say that I'm not the only lawyer for Chairman Wontumi. I'm one of the lawyers.
Thank you. So you're one of the lawyers for Chairman Wontumi. That point well noted. So you spent a lot of time today at the CID headquarters, some 4 hours, as we've learned. Do you and your client really know specifically what these 3 charges are?
Yeah, it's certainly once you are charged with an offense, the burden lies on the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused person beyond all reasonable doubt. So certainly, once he's been arraigned for the High Court tomorrow, we await the proceeding before the High Court. And after the prosecution is done, then maybe it may be a case of submission of no case to answer, or a case to answer, then we can proceed from there. So certainly, once we are going to court, there is nothing much to be said.
Very well, but you spoke to journalists today. You spoke to my colleague Kweku Asante at the CID headquarters today. You kept emphasizing that you need all the resources, indeed, to facilitate your defense. Has the prosecution afforded you all the specifics of the offences they want to charge Chairman Wontumi with?
Once his charges have been read to him, and he has signed on to those charges, the burden lies on the prosecution to file their charges before the court. And once it's arraigned before the court, the decision of the court is that in a criminal matter or criminal trial like this, after the charges have been read against and the plea of the accused person has been taken, when his liberty is also discharged, then the burden lies on the prosecution to file disclosures upon which the prosecution will rely in prosecuting it. So once those things are done, then CMC and the case management conference, then the trial proceeds. So we have not gotten anywhere. So we are just waiting.
Do you not know the charges?
Oh, we are aware of the charges.
So what are the charges?
You mentioned that he has been charged with three counts, but he was charged with 2 counts. Rakonta Mining as a company, as a separate legal entity was charged. Then Mr. Boasiako was also charged. Then another person was also charged. So he's not the only person who has been charged in respect of the investigation that was being conducted by the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service. So let's await the formal filing of the charge sheet before the High Court tomorrow. Then we'll speak to it.
Thank you very much, EOCO Afuakwa, and he's one of the lawyers for Bernard Antwi Boasiako, also known as Chairman Wontumi.
Well, talking about high-profile MPP officers or sympathizers who had been charged today, one of them, former Attorney General himself, was before the CID today, and Kweku, you were there also. What happened?
So right after Chairman Wontumi arrived, just a little after 9, then Godfrey Dame also drove in with his team just about 10 o'clock. He came in the company of his 2 deputies at the time. He was AG, Diana Sunabadapa and Alfred Tuya Geoffrey Mpon, as well as Frank Davis and Gary Nimakomafo. They were also interrogated. In fact, they stayed in there for quite a bit longer than Chairman Wontumi, a little close to 4 or 5 hours before they left. And our understanding is that Godfrey Dame actually had a statement that he read to them categorically denying that he has actually fabricated evidence. He says that Jakpa is what he said in the meeting that we've gotten some transcript as sour grapes, and that he just want to embark on a political vendetta against him, and that as far as he is concerned, he has not done anything illegal when it comes to the matters that have been dealt with. So we spoke to Frank Davis, one of the lawyers that accompanied Godfrey Adame to the police CID today. He gave us a certain indication of what went in there and confirmed what his team believes to be political witch hunt against the former AG.
Former Learned Attorney General had been indicted on a complaint made by Richard Chapa. So we honor the invitation of the police CID. We have been in the room with them all the number of hours that you have also waited here.
What are the charges so far?
It is early days yet, so I don't want to preempt anything about charges. We just came here to honor their invitation, and we are looking forward for what they will have to say subsequently. At least we have also told them what we know about the complaint, so we'll be waiting for them in due course. A matter which has received judicial pronouncement. This is the first time we are hearing it. This complaint has been made already. It has received a judicial pronouncement. So what? Is it not obvious to you? Is it not obvious what the implications are? So I need not say it. You should also form your own conclusion.
And then you also had the former Deputy Attorney General, Chianyebo, also there. His point was?
In fact, he confirms what his team also believes to be witch hunt. He says that he served in the AG's department with Godfrey Boasiako. He was upright, he played by the book, and these allegations are baseless.
As you know, the former AG was invited to the CID this morning. We got here around 10:05. And at the end of the day, people are going to get to know that all these charges against are come at once. I mean, the former AG in his office as the AG started duties with all diligence. I was his deputy, and I can state without any equivocation that he has done nothing untoward to merit this kind of charge that has been brought against him. But at the end of the day, truth will stand. Truth will stand. Godfrey will be vindicated.
Would you say this is just purely political based on what he did to Atifosin?
Purely political, and I think it's also coming out of dislike for Godfrey Dame. The complainant in this particular case, he knows deep down his heart that this matter would have arisen if he had not gone to see one of his relatives, the Supreme Court judge, to speak to Godfrey Dame. And so he knows that Dame is innocent, but he still wants to test it. We are ready for him. Godfrey is ready for him. People are going to get to know the true facts behind this sample.
Let's quickly bring in Frank Davis. He's one of the lawyers who accompanied Godfrey Dame to the CID today. And Frank, just for clarity, was he cautioned? Has he been charged with anything?
Good evening to your listeners and viewers at the same time. Yeah. He was cautioned after we had gone through the interrogation processes. We tried as much as possible to lend support and cooperation towards the investigators had to ask us and what we also had to say. At the end of the day, he was admitted to a self-recognizance bail. I don't know about any charges as at now.
Is he to report back to the CID, and at what regularity, what frequency, if that is the
Not
case?
that I know of. We left there with the simple understanding that we will be called as and when. So we still await any invitation that will come from the police CID.
And as far as the accusations against him are concerned, from what we understand, he came with a prepared statement. He read from it. What was the gravamen of that statement?
He did not read from any statement. So I don't know who has fed you with that information. He did not read. Yes, we went there with a prepared statement because, of course, we had a wind of what the police intended to interrogate us on. So he had prepared a written statement in response to the complaint. So yes, after we had prepared our caution statement, we handed a prepared statement to them as a further statement we had to give to the police. We didn't read out anything. At least not when I was in the room. And I was with him all throughout.
Frank Davis, thank you very much. And Frank Davis is one of the lawyers who accompanied Godfrey Dame to the CID today. So live here on News 90 on Joy, 99.7 FM.
And events still to come in business.
Well, Coming up, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers fear transport operators could push for hikes in fares due to rising fuel prices, and also government statistician links the reduction in inflation rate to government consolidation program, as well as Bank of Ghana efforts to check liquidity on the market. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal. You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is warning that transport operators could soon push for hikes in fares. It's coming after some of the oil marketing companies increased prices at the pumps, and there are strong indications that prices could be going up further. Now, this is based on projections of surging crude prices due to the approaching winter season in Europe. Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Duncan Amoah, says he's worried that this time round we may have to brace up for some hikes.
I have always said that we are simply tracking towards the January 2025 levels. If that happens, we are one of the organizations that have almost always had to work with the transport operators. Recently, the body was asking for increase in transport fares, indicated it wasn't fair, it wasn't proper. That was Shell. We continue to engage them, but if we get to the pre-January levels, we are simply not going to be in a position to tell the transport operators any further not to increase transport fares, because fuel prices began declining from the 14.99. We asked the transport operators to reduce their fares. Some did some 15% reduction. So if you are going back to that level, you are simply telling them to come back and increase transport fares. And I think that the Ghanaian authorities should be interested in ensuring we don't get to those levels, because once we get there, the natural order that transport fares would also go up.
Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amoah. In a related development, liquefied petroleum gas consumption has gone up by more than 5% for the first half of this year. Now, that's according to the industry report released by the Chamber of that is oil marketing companies. The data showed that this was driven by households and industrial adoption, which marked increase in the Upper West and Upper East region. Now, still on the sector, that is LPG firm Anandale retained position as the market leader for the industry, commanding more than 18% of the total market share for the LPG industry. Now, government statistician Dr. Hassan Idrisu has highlighted the critical role of the current fiscal consolidation program and the Bank of Ghana liquidities in helping check inflation. Now, general price levels of goods and services has dropped by more than 20% from the beginning of this year to hit 9.4% for the month of September 2025. Dr. Idrisu says that a lot more would depend on government if we want to actually maintain this single-digit inflation.
Once you have your fiscal consolidation program holding, you register lower deficits, you borrow less because you don't need much more money to make up for the deficits. You are more efficient, and that impacts positively on general price level because it brings aggregate demand down, all other things being equal. So the second reason we are seeing the disinflation process we are seeing is the fiscal consolidation program that government is implementing, which we are encouraging government to maintain it or to stay the course on the fiscal consolidation. So if you look at the Bank of Ghana's monetary policy, you realize that where they have to come in to tighten the monetary policy, they do so. And in fact, they've operated appropriate monetary policy stance, which is contributing significantly to the disinflation process.
And that is government statistician Dr. Al-Hassan Idrisu. Now, more investors are turning away from government of Ghana treasury bills. Now, this is despite the recent cut in the monetary policy community rate that should have helped in drive interest in that area. There is more in this report.
Since June this year, the policy rate, that is the rate at which the Bank of Ghana lends to commercial banks, has fallen by more than 6%. To the current rate of 21.5%. However, This decline has not translated into higher demand for government securities. The latest auction results showed for the second consecutive week, the government failed to meet a target. Many market watchers had expected that the recent policy rate cut would boost demand for government bills. This expectation was based on the argument that the government's previous difficulties in meeting its target were due to the Bank of Ghana's bills, which were pegged to the policy rate and discourage investors. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has consistently been able to raise its full target amount through its OMO bills whenever it goes to the market, a success that the government of Ghana's treasury bills have not been able to replicate.
And that is a business desk report. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are an investor in GCB Bank, today at the end of trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange, its share that you are holding was up by 15 pesos to close at 15 Ghana cedis, 15 pesos. Carl Bank was also up by 3 pesos to close at 72 pesos. Now, if you had invested on the Ghana Stock Exchange, that is on the market, any of these stocks from January to now, you have made a return of more than 72%. Now, that is way higher than any investment instrument or returns that you've made or you will make on the market currently in the country. And that's all for business on News Night. Back to you, Evans.
George, thank you very, very much. And listen, we have to do some sports now. Yes. And the man with the latest filler is with us. Hello, Ashu.
Hi, Evans. And remember when the NDC said they were going to roll out a sports development fund?
I do.
Yeah, we have it on authority that plan is almost at fruition. In fact, they are going to introduce a sports levy as the primary source of funding for that development
sports
fund.
Levy?
Yes.
Levied on who?
Well, we'll find out in
the sports fraternity, so that people like yourself will pay. But you mean myself too?
Of course, every levy cuts across. You pay directly or indirectly.
So you mean so there's a task?
Yes, that will be part of. Yes, so it will be part of the sports bill, right? The bill for the sports development fund that will be submitted to Parliament later. When it convenes.
Once tax is mentioned, you know the reaction is not going to be one.
Well, one man who was part of the consultations with Cabinet before they made that decision was Antwi, who's the Ghana Olympic Committee treasurer, and he spoke to Joy Sports on that situation.
It got Cabinet approval 2 weeks ago. Is looking to get into Parliament very soon. We are hoping that by the end of the year or Q1 next year, the sports fund will be launched, and that will go to assist all the national federations. So what is in it is that, number one, there is going to be a pool of fund that has a reserve to assist national federations competitions, especially the first priority, World Championships, junior and senior, Continental Championships, junior and senior, local, the sports festival we've had. The last time we had sports festival was in 2019. And before 2019, don't forget there was a lack in 2011, and it's been zero. So this will rejuvenate that particular performance level of that sector.
Yep, that was Antwi, the treasurer of the Ghana Olympic Committee on the sports fund.
Achu, thank you very much. So live, your News Night is on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll be sharing your thoughts with the rest of the world pretty shortly.
And Evans, let's bring listeners more stories on illegal mining, and the activities are wreaking havoc on Ghana's railway infrastructure, with about 3 kilometers of the critical Nsuta Takoradi Akyem rail line destroyed, halting Manganese, Haulage and other operations. The Ghana Railway Company estimates the damage to be around $18 million, a blow to the nation's economy. The destroyed stretch of the rail line hangs precariously over pits dug by illegal miners, while other sections are buried under sand. Large portions of land along the rail line have also been degraded.
Well, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Dr. Frederick Apo, says the destruction of the railway line has collapsed Manganese haulage operations, a significant contributor to the national economy. He says repair costs will quadruple the maintenance expenses, further straining the Ghana Railway Company's finances, which are already struggling. And they're struggling, as we know, to pay workers' salaries. He spoke on the Pulse.
The illegal mining on the Western Railway line spans from not just, it spans from Mensah to Hini Valley. And at the moment, the epicenter is somewhere around Bonsareo and also Nsuta. Bonsareo is about 54 kilometers from Takoradi and 6 kilometers from Nsuta. So if we're looking at the Esweso Bridge all the way to Nsuta are all critical areas under siege. The issue is that on assumption of office, I visited the place in March and April, and as well as in May. And once we did that, we put together what I call a temporary team to look at and monitor the entire line. The line is about 68 kilometers. So it stretches throughout the whole Western region corridor. And the issue here is not about monitoring. We are monitoring. It's about how these people act and behave. We tried to do a community sensitization program, I believe in May, where we introduce a 3X to the community. See it, sort it, see it, say it, and sort it. And this way we are able to respond through with the Takoradi Municipal Assembly as well as the law enforcement. I have personally reported this over 4 times to Takoradi Divisional Police, which I've done so. Just last week I reported it as well. The issue here is that these people can operate at any time. So for example, so the point here is that this requires a sort of I call a joint effort. A joint effort, and it must be sustainable in the long term.
Well, that's not all. Dr. Apo says a sustained routine monitoring of the railway lines will be the most effective way of protecting the nation's railway infrastructure.
In some cases, yes. And in some cases, we don't get arrest at all. The thing is that they know how the police moves, and they've got intelligence along the route. I have personally been there. These guys are heavily armed along the route and the corridor. So when we went there, we managed to approach some of them. They ran away. And if you go into certain areas, they've got the Shamfines close to the Ghana Manganese Corporation entrance, just at the entrance of it. So the thing is, it's not just about trying to move them away from there. It's about trying to have a sustained force to deter them from going there. And like I said before, we need the community support to be able to address these issues.
And these issues, they are quite difficult for you to deal with. Yeah. That's why you set up the committee, right? So far, what's the report they have come home with?
Yes, there's a 3-member committee set up by the Minister, His Excellency Honorable Bukari, for the Transport Minister, to look at how best we can look at this in a very holistic way. And I think based on the initial report coming out, we will need to form a joint task force between the Ministry of Interior, National Security, as well as the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources. But then again, we don't want to duplicate other mandates like NADMO. So there's no point trying to duplicate effort. What we have to see here is that the railway infrastructure is a very expensive infrastructure.
Well, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is stirring up controversy with its plan to restore the country's polluted rivers using copper-based nano liquid technology, and still dealing with the subject of Galamsey, which is now dividing opinions on how best to proceed with our water bodies heavily polluted by all manner of substances. The proposal, championed by EPA's Chief Executive Officer, Professor Nana Brown-Kluche, claims to effectively dechemicalize and restore heavily contaminated water bodies. The EPA boss says laboratory tests have shown promising results in removing toxic contaminants from water.
We can treat our rivers as they are flowing and make it clear. Because if you heard Nick speak, their particular technology, there are different technologies. In fact, since I took office, I have received several proposals of different methods and different technologies. Mm-hmm. So this particular one Nick spoke about, the one I mentioned yesterday at the news file, explaining the nano-based copper, nano, whatever, fluid. That can be used in water that is flowing, and it will clean the water as it flows. Remember, when the water is flowing, it flows with the heavy metals as well. Mm-hmm. When we talk about heavy metal, we are not saying heavy metal like what you can see and carry, and it's heavy so it will sink. Mm-hmm. It's moving and flowing with the water. That is the same way this technology or the nano liquid will also operate. It will be flowing together with the heavy metal that is in the water.
And be absorbing the heavy metals.
And will be absorbing as they flow. So we can talk about the application. It's an engineering work we can do separately. Some come with a proposal of banking the river at certain points or blocking the river at certain points, and then after releasing the water and all of that. That is a different conversation. What we need to assure Ghanaians, we have a mandate to protect the country, to protect the environment of the country. And that is my particular mandate. That is why President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, appointed me to the position as the CEO of EPA. So I have a clear mandate to protect the country's environment. That includes water, air, food, and the land.
So, Evans, of course, that's the EPA's Chief Executive Officer, well, the Associate Professor of Mining Engineering at Sir Padampat Shinghania University, India, Professor Emmanuel Danuba Sunkari, defended the method, affirming that dechemicalization is scientifically valid and the nanoliquid approach is proven in laboratory settings.
That terminology is in existence. You can dechemicalize, and it is just semantics. It depends on how you use it. Decontaminate, detoxify, dechemicalize. And if your target is about chemical substances, then it is better to use dechemicalize. Maybe you are targeting potentially toxic elements like the arsenic, the cadmium, the mercury that are carcinogenic in nature. Then it is appropriate or very appropriate to use dechemicalize. But if it includes other organics, maybe, things that may not be chemical substances, then, or biological things, then you can just say decontaminate, detoxify. So it is purely semantics. And for instance, there was a point raised that water itself is a chemical compound with the formula H2O. Now, if you are dechemicalizing, it's like you are going to also denature the chemical formula of water. That is not true. Let me just use this scenario. You have a car and you have been washing the car. The car has paint. The paint is a chemical compound. And you've been washing the car every day with soap, which is also chemical.
Water.
Now, does the soap with the water, which is also a chemical, all right, take away the chemical composition of the paint? Does it denature it?
Well, this has become a controversial subject. As you already may have heard, the lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba, Dr. Ekpo Anyima Aka, questions the concept of dechemicalization and its feasibility in real-world conditions.
When you use the expression to dechemicalize, the whole world is actually, you're a chemical. Water itself is a chemical. Everything is a chemical. When you use the expression to dechemicalize, it is very, very ambiguous, amphibious. You have to be specific. And that is why and in fact, in a setting,
but in this case, it was a specific statement.
I had that
the government was exploring to bring in such technology.
No, you could say that without using the expression dechemicalization.
What is wrong with dechemicalization?
See, let her explain exactly what she meant by dechemicalization.
No, you said
yes.
Dechemicalization cannot be used.
You can't.
Nothing exists like that. So I want you to explain to us what is wrong with the term dechemicalization.
What is wrong with it is that when you say you want to dechemicalize, at the end of the day, you want to see that in the context in which you want to dechemicalize, there's no chemical there. So if there's a chemical there, it means you have not succeeded in dechemicalizing. Do you see that? The water itself that you want to dechemicalize is itself what? Chemical.
Well, adding to the debates, Professor Bright Kwachiewa of the Department of Physics at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology said that Ghana possesses the expertise and skilled personnel to undertake the dechemicalization process at a competitive cost.
We can make clean water from our rivers possible because we have been working on this for the past 10 years. We have done a lot of research work into mining waste, mining effluent, Galamsey water, including mercury. And if you check my publication in collaboration with researchers from Cardiff University, we published a paper on mercury removal using one of our products. So the technological know-how is right here in Ghana. The products that are used to treat the water, any of this contaminated water, we have the capability or the technological know-how to do that. And not only to do that, but to do that at competitive costs compared to what you did research, the cost that you put out there from the various countries, including the USA.
I want to bring in Dr. Juliet Ohiming in Tiamwa. He's a professional engineer, water treatment systems, with the thoughts on this ongoing debate. And Prof, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. Well, what do you make of this approach that the EPA is proposing to adopt, the nano liquid technology? Is that even feasible?
Evans, thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you once again, and regards to your listeners. So I listened to the EPA boss on Newsfile last Saturday, and then also listened to the probe yesterday, and heard from her again and all the others that have contributed to it. So as a water and wastewater technologist myself, I know that there are a lot of technologies that can be used to treat heavy metals, right, contamination. And I also want to just suggest that, to the media, let's not focus so much on the discussion of the terminology, whether it's dechemicalizing or decontamination or cleaning. Let's try and focus more on the real matters that is at stake. EPA is looking to invest a lot of money into a technology to clean rivers that is receiving continuous pollution. Now, this technology that is talked about, the copper-based nanoparticles, you can use this in a typically, let me say, point source pollution. When I say point source pollution, imagine you have a factory, right, that it's producing a lot of heavy metal contaminated water. Before it discharges into a river, you can put this system there to treat that water before it's discharged. Evans, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is where most of these technologies are more practical. When you have a point source, you know that, okay, factory A, factory B, or C produces this amount of heavy metals, contaminated water, and so you've designed the system to treat it. But when you have a full-blown river flowing, one, Galamsey is still ongoing, and so whatever you decide to do to the river, you are really, it's like fetching water with a basket. If you are going to fetch water and you're taking a basket, by the time you come back, there is nothing inside.
In the interest of time, then, so which approach would be best suited for our current circumstance?
So the approach that would be best suited is that the EPA should focus more on strictly enforcing the existing mining regulations along the water bodies to stop illegal mining. So we stop the contamination in the first place, and then secondly, to protect human health, people who are receiving treated water in their homes. Our current water treatment plants do not have the capacity to remove heavy metals.
So assuming they stop, so they're assuming they stop the Galamsey tomorrow, and we don't have any Galamsey going on again. The rivers that have already been polluted, can you do anything to treat them, to purify them?
It's still not advisable to even treat rivers that way. It's rather more advisable to treat the water treatment plants that are receiving these rivers, right? Upgrade their treatment systems to be able to remove the heavy metals before homes that receive this treated water can receive cleaned treated water that does not contain these heavy metals. Now, normally when a water body is polluted like that, and let's say Galamsey is stopped, with time, with dilution and sometimes even sediment dredging, the river can restore itself without having to pour all these chemicals in there.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. That's Dr. Juliet Hemming, a TMY, is a professional engineer and water treatment systems.
And Evans, let's take one of the comments from our listeners, and it's this one says it's from Nana in Spintex, and he says, "Is the NPP telling us that what they could not do in the 8 years of the administration must be done by the NDC in less than a year? Most of us know that most of us in Ghana know that we can't trust both parties to stand up for us."
And that's it for Newsnight tonight. My name is Evan Spencer.
And my name is Ofori.